everybody, welcome to another episode of a trip to Trader Joe's today on a rainy day. And today I would like to talk about something very important, a little serious theme here, and that's about musicians' salaries. Why are we musicians are allowing club owners and venue owners to keep all the money when we are the ones that are providing the entertainment? When I started playing back in 70s, talking about 1970s, I used to make 100 and 125, 150 on regular gigs, at clubs and restaurants. If we did a show, it was more money. It was 250. And if you do a tour, then it was supposed to be more. I didn't do a lot of touring. I did, but I did it for cheaper because I wanted to go. And that's a mistake, because I wanted to go on tour. See, the thing is, the musicians, we like playing, we like to travel. And that can be a disadvantage. That can be a mistake, because you think, maybe because, we didn't have Facebook in that time, but still, you got the reputation, or whatever, that you were a traveling musician. So it did help in a way to play with international artists. But I got taken by, I don't want to mention names, but I have a couple of stories that I could tell you about getting paid really low for a lot of work just because we were in a traveling situation. And that's why these managers and artists look for young talent. They look for young guys that don't have a lot of experience and will go basically for cheap, will go traveling. And that's like, it's really it's bad. It's really bad. It's a tragedy, because it's like slavery. You sell your. So let me tell you something. When you go traveling, not all the time you are like tourist traveling. Sometimes you have to work a lot. You work more than you think. You're gonna be, this street has supposed to be a bike lane, but doesn't have. I don't see it. So supposed to be a bike route. I guess it starts over there, where the road gets a little wider. And anyway, when you travel, sometimes let me give you the worst scenario. You leave at 5 in the morning, fly for 4 hours, get to the city, and maybe that's already later because you went east. Let's say you went east. So by the time you get there, time is a different time zone. So now you gotta maybe go to eat. And I've had situations where you can't eat. And then if you get there on time, maybe if you're lucky, you went there the night before. On the very worst cases, you're gonna play that night, and so you're gonna do sound check for rehearsal, for like 2-3 hours, set up, go eat, come back. This is without sleep from 5 in the morning, unless you could sleep on the plane and then you have a big pain in your neck. And then you have to play your show. And you have fun. Right? By the time you finish, you're done. You can't do anything else. If somebody invites you for dinner, you probably are not even hungry right then. Okay, go to sleep. The next day, probably do the same again. That's the worst, because you saw the hotel and you saw the venue, and that's it. You went to New York, but you didn't see New York. So you're working. What I'm trying to say is, when you're traveling, you're working. Don't take, because I'm traveling, we're gonna travel. That's bullshit. That's artists and managers trying to get cheap labor. So ask before you go on tour, what are the conditions? How many days, how many gigs? Some people do 2 gigs in a day, and they put you in a van or something. You don't even fly, you drive. So the best scenario is when you have a week or 2 at the same place. When you get a more than one nighter, you get at least and you're supposed to get paid at least, $400, $500, $600 per gig. Plus you gotta get per diems. So the best scenario is when you get a gig that is in a hotel lobby or something, at a club, staying at the same hotel. I've done that. We were lucky with a band that I used to play with, and we went to Paris, and Paris, France, and it was like that. We played 2 weeks, living in the hotel. I can't remember what I made, how much money I made, and I have made my like I said, my mistakes in the past, that because it's a nice city that you want to visit, you go and you find out that it wasn't so glamorous. Anyway, then in the middle you can get anything, and I'm talking about well-known artists. This is not when you play, like, with a new salsa singer, that could be even worse. I'm talking about people that are known, people that have a name. So anyway, I had a good gig that I didn't even play because I was just a replacement for a bass player that couldn't. He had problems, and they needed an understudy or a replacement guy just in case. He ended up doing the gig, but I still made $3,000 a week, and that was back in the 90s, I think, or 2000 something. But that kind of money is what you want to make. You don't want to go. I met this guy, and he tells me, oh, actually that was in school. He left school, and he said because they had a band and they had a tour, and they were like supposed to be, get famous and whatever. Well, when I asked him how much you're making, he kind of got a little embarrassed and said, no, I'm not making anything. And see, that's completely stupid. And then I said, well, are you getting hotels or meals or something? And he said they were sleeping in the van because the manager or somebody said that he had a few gigs, and supposedly we're going to be like the gateway for fame, exposure. Yeah, don't fall for that shit.